Hi, I'm Chris Nedza, lead entrepreneur in residence of the Advanced Technology Development Center at Georgia Tech. We're the state of Georgia's technology incubator. Welcome to Season 1 of the ATDC podcast, Executive Bytes. We focus on the startup founders in our portfolio, what sparked them to launch their companies, the market problem they solved, and even how they overcame the thoughts of quitting when times get rough. Enjoy. Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Executive Bytes. I'm Chris Nedza, your host. And today I have an amazing, young, very accomplished, sharp CEO named Starr Douglas. Starr, I'm going to dig right in because you have an amazing, like all of our CEOs have amazing stories, but your growth has been spectacular. And I'm really fascinated because you are relatively young and you have dug in and built something that is growing like crazy. So let's just dig right in and let's talk about FrontHouz, which is your company.
Yeah,
So
let's do it.
yeah. What? Give me the problem, or why did you come up with this idea? And how did that happen?
Yeah, well, first of all, Chris, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I'm super excited to be chatting with you. As always, it's always a pleasure when we get to go back and forth, and I think this is going to be a ton of fun. But getting into the problem and just the genesis behind FrontHouz. So I was a knucklehead bartender turned bar manager and eventually beverage director. And my biggest challenge was keeping staff behind the bar and in the front of house in the restaurants. The front of house, this is the area that the guests see. The bartenders, the servers, the hosts, the food runners, the bar backs, the bussers, everybody who is having an interaction with a guest, that's considered the front of house in a restaurant. And that was my domain. And keeping staff in the front of house was a nightmare. I mean, front of house, back of house, both ways, it's a nightmare, but this
So
was area.
sorry, when you say keeping them in the front of the house, you're talking about keeping them employed.
Keeping them employed.
You're always short-staffed, right? I mean,
Perpetually.
and I bet you 1,000% of our listeners would agree. They would all tell you that that's a big issue. Okay, gotcha.
You don't have to be working in the service industry to recognize that. I mean, if you're a guest in a restaurant and you have slow service or it takes 45 minutes to get your cocktail, I mean, the guests feel it just as much as the staff do.
Yeah, for sure. I know I see that all the time. It's like, but I realize the problem, so I don't get upset at the restaurant owner.
Yeah.
It's hard to find people.
It is. It's hard. People are looking for different things these days. The newer generations want a lot more freedom and flexibility than typical W-2 employment can offer. And the gig economy really just unlocked that mentality in the workforce, especially in our industry, because everybody lost their jobs during COVID and they had to make ends meet. So they turned to platforms like Uber and DoorDash to keep the lights on. So this is now the new standard in our industry. And man, has it really taken off? And it's amazing for me to, play a role in helping and empower these workers to do what they know and love, but, maybe not have to face all the risks of, driving your car all day and bringing strangers into your car and then having to pay the gas and then your car's getting depreciated.
So are you the Uber for FrontHouz staff?
We certainly are. And you don't even have to use your car.
So what does that mean? You're like, I just made that up. I didn't even realize it. But listening to you, I think, like, what do you guys do? What does FrontHouz do?
Yeah, and it's funny. I used to always call us Uber for hospitality staffing, but people would say, so does that mean you drive bartenders around?
Yeah, right.
I've kind of stopped saying that, but what we do, so essentially, if you're a manager at a restaurant or at an event venue, a stadium, any hospitality facility that needs guest-facing roles, you can go onto our app on FrontHouz, sign up, put in your information, and then when you need a worker, all you need to do is basically push a few buttons, and then you'll get a fully trained staff member coming your way. They'll know your menus, your table numbers, how to make your drinks. It's all custom to each specific venue.
Oh, you mean I have a quick serve? I can't go, I want a Chick-fil-A type person? or do you meet with my team, or how's that onboard go so that it's my culture and my expectations? Because that is a big hassle too, to bring
Yeah.
people in and train them. And
No, it's a big lift, and it is an investment up front. To clarify, we don't actually work with QSRs, the quick service Chick-fil-A types Chipotle.
okay.
It's just full service locations. So they have to have a front and a back of house, and usually tips. There are other ways that we qualify them. How the onboarding process works, it's mostly self-service for a lot of our clients, but we do have a very white glove element to our platform. So we like to be hands-on and collaborative with the companies that come on board. You mentioned culture. So we do a really deep dive to understand what and who this company is, who works there, who are the managers, who are the other team members in this company, and we'll work with them to collect training documents like their menus, their cocktail build sheets, their steps of service, what they use to train their in-house staff already. That goes into our portal, which is powered by AI, and we generate uh, knowledge assessments, quizzes, basic modules and checkpoints that these workers have to go through before they can complete their first shift at that location.
Right. So my guess is that by now you've got some feedback, right? Like, what are your customers saying? Are they saying like, yeah, it gave me, I expected a 9 or a 10 employee and you gave me a 4? Or are they saying your people are already going, I mean, this is a softball question, right? Like, how good are your people providing and assimilating and adding to? Do you have data on that? I mean, I'm not looking at percentage, but like, what are you thinking?
Percentages. If you want hard numbers, I got them. So
All right. I love it, man. You stay ready. You don't need to get ready. I love it.
yeah, our average star rating of our workforce is 4.95 out of 5. So they're expecting a 4, they're actually getting like a 9.9 usually.
Awesome.
There are always good days and bad days, and even a 5-star worker will have a bad day here and there, but the trust mechanism built into the platform, the two-sided rating system, that really is a key component of how we're able to maintain quality. A shift or a gig is completed, that worker rates the venue, that venue rates the worker, and if it's a mutual fit, they get added to each other's favorites lists. So these restaurants, these venues, they get to build a limitless bench of their favorite workers who now get first dibs on future shifts that come out.
So, Starr, give me some a feel for the traction and what's going on with your business. Are you just getting started? Are you moving along? Give me some feel. Let our audience know where you are.
Yeah. So we are in a really exciting phase of growth right now. We are working with some incredible clients like the Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, some Michelin star restaurant groups. And then we also recently just closed a $12 million a year event staffing deal. And it's an exclusive contract nationwide. And that's
Wow.
to drive a lot of our growth trajectory in terms of cities. And we're moving really quickly. We've been fully in operation for coming on 2 years. Company's been around for 4 years, and we have close. We're approaching the 3-figure number in terms of clients on the platform. We are live in Atlanta. We've done soft launches in Buffalo and Orlando, and then we're piloting currently about 12 other markets across the U.S.
Interesting. Buffalo and Orlando.
Very often, right?
How did you I wouldn't have thought of Buffalo, but how did you pick those, or did they pick you?
Buffalo definitely picked me. Buffalo was it was kind of funny how it came about to begin with. Buffalo was the first place we ever did marketing very accidentally. So we had a marketing agency and we were supposed to be marketing in Brooklyn because we had a festival that we were staffing out there. And we kept getting all these applicants from Buffalo and we were so confused. And turned out that something online, like a zip code or search radius for the advertisements, they're all going out to Buffalo. So we ended up having like a large supply of people from Buffalo all looking to work. And then we figured out that it's a really tight knit community up there. There are a ton of amazing restaurants and bars in that city. So our team went up to Buffalo about 3 times last year, and there's a really strong strategic partner of ours up there as well. So it somehow made perfect sense.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Chicago would probably be a really good area. There's a lot of foodies in Chicago, a lot of restaurants up
August,
there.
great.
Yeah, I love this. What's the number one pushback you get from a restaurateur? And are you working with multi locations mostly, or a single, or like, tell me that kind of.
Yeah. So a lot of single units, a handful of multi-units that are starting to come onto the platform now. To this point, it's mostly been a lot of events and catering companies. Like we work with the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United, for instance, in the stadium, but also in their training camps. So we do all their staffing. The number one pushback that we probably get is people are just really hesitant to put their culture, their guest experience in somebody else's hands and trust software to do it all for them. So people are worried that we're going to send them somebody who, just doesn't make the cut or wouldn't normally make the cut in their interview process. So something that we focus on very heavily is our vetting. So before a worker can even submit their application to us, they're going through professional reference checks and work experience verification, identity verification, virtual interviews, personality assessments, skills-based assessments. Really, the list goes on. We even certify their documents, if they have ServSafe or poor licenses, stuff like that. So we end up really weeding that pool down to get to the best.
Yeah, I would think that this would be an easy sale. Okay, it's like, we've got good ratings. We put good people out there. Your option is a, person you might not be sure of, or zero.
True.
You
True.
know?
But at the same time, I completely understand and respect that perspective, because if you don't get the right person who meets your culture, a steakhouse bartender is so different from a dive bartender. If you don't get that right fit, then your guests experience that, and then you're going to lose revenue eventually because they might not come back if they don't have a good experience. So there's definitely something we have to prove up front and really just demonstrate that quality. But once we do, they're locked and loaded for the next shift.
Yeah, I love that. It's, what oozes out of you is that you have an understanding of the pain, and you also have compassion for the owner and the business. So I think that's amazing, Starr. I love that. You get it, right? I mean,
I totally get it. Yeah. And I gotta say, you said that I have a lot of respect for the owner and the business, and I totally do, but just as much, it's for the workforce. I was, and still in my heart am, one of those knucklehead bartenders. And I myself felt that pain during and post COVID. I mean, I was bartending very steadily back then, and those are my people, I get that mentality of, man, I really want to work for myself. I really don't like being told this is my schedule. And man, why can't I just have access to my pay now? Why do I have to wait 2 weeks? And it's something that I think is pretty universal. Most places you go in the country, the mentality of the hospitality workforce these days. And I just want to empower them. I want to give them the tools, the resources, and the abilities to live their best life.
Yeah, so they're your people. I love that. So, Starr, let's switch gears a little bit. Any ahas, lessons learned about, you decided to start a company. Now you're a couple of years into it. What was the, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known?
Oh goodness, what would that be? There have been so many, but none are profoundly sticking out to me. Development time always takes longer than you expect.
Yeah.
First developer I ever hired didn't actually do any development work at all for me, even though I was paying them to. That was a pretty big aha to me. Like, you actually have code. And I should have. I don't know why I wasn't. I have a computer science background, so I don't know why I wasn't more involved early on. So I think a big one was, hey, you have to be more involved in product development and product strategy. And it's ended up being like one of my favorite parts of what I get to do. So,
wait a minute. So, do you have a computer science degree?
Yeah, I went to Georgia Tech. I studied business and computer science.
It's so funny because, I know that. It's amazing. You are like super accomplished. And, so you weren't checking in code. You weren't looking at any of that stuff. You sort of trust the developer.
I did.
Yeah.
I had a good relationship personally, and sometimes that just doesn't always work out the way you want it to. That might be another aha moment. I made some really personal hires early on, people that I really trusted who they just weren't the right fit. And, I wouldn't say it burned a bridge necessarily, but relationships were definitely hurt in the process. And
Yeah.
if I could do it again, I probably wouldn't hire those same people. I'd preserve the relationship. And that I think everybody goes through these things. They'll hire the wrong people. They'll hire a friend and they'll have to learn that the hard way. And that might just be how it is. You might have to go through that so that you don't do it in the future. And I'm happy I did. Hindsight is 2020. And at the end of the day, I think what we've done throughout this entire journey, we've used the best information available to make the best decision available. And if things needed to be changed in the future, we changed them.
Well, you're the holy grail of what investors look for. I mean, you're enthusiastic, you're smart, you're passionate about it, but you're also technical. And so many people have great ideas, but they need a technical co-founder, and you have got the whole package. And I also know that you're coachable too. So not everybody is. Why are you coachable? What makes you what's something about you that makes you coachable?
That's such an interesting question. I'm going to say, I think that's a weird question to ask somebody. What makes you coachable? It's kind of like saying, what makes you really easy to push over? I don't know. I don't exactly know what makes me coachable. I would attribute that quality with, I have just this sense in the back of my mind that if I'm not constantly trying to improve and listen to every single thing that I could possibly do for this company, then I am failing on all accounts. I strive to be the dumbest person in every room I walk into, and I just want to soak it all in. And I think I've come a long way in a little over 4 years now, but yeah, I love to learn, and I love to figure out what's a good thing and what's a bad thing, because you get tons of advice and not all of it is good. Most of it is actually probably bad advice, but developing that sense to know what's good, what's bad, that's so invigorating for me.
So you hit on something I wanted to ask you about, and that is you are humble, and I know that about you, and you do want to know, and you ask questions, and you're approachable and stuff like that. But you're a female founder in a technical world. How is that? That's a hard question, right? Because I know you probably, yeah. What's it like to be a female founder in a technical world?
Yeah, I think I've always kind of been like one of the guys, to be totally honest with you. When I was bartending, for instance, all of my friends were, males who were probably 20, 30 years older than me. So it's not that different for me right now. Like the culture of being in a male-centric industry, it's something I'm totally used to. It's something I thrive on. I drink scotch just like the guys do, and I love it. I really do. I love being a part of it. There are definitely some challenges. Nobody can say that there aren't, being a female founder. I mean, I just gave a presentation the other day on the statistics of where capital goes in the country, and spoiler alert, it's not usually to female founders, and I've experienced that firsthand. I've met with investors who've asked me some really ludicrous things that I genuinely don't think would ever be asked of a male founder. And I've been put into situations that I had to immediately get out of, that I won't, dive too much into, that again are very unique to females. So I've seen a lot of things in this time, but I think that it's just made me smarter and sharper.
So what advice would you give to female founders? Because I do hear that a lot. I don't know. I'm not a female, so I don't really know. But what advice? Because I do think that there's this wall. But I will tell you this: most of the female founders I know, they're unbelievable. I think they're better than their counterparts. I would.
That's for you. You ready for this? All right. 2024, according to Boston Consulting Group, About 24.3% of all US VC exit activity is attributed to female founders, even though we got 1% of the capital.
Okay.
Another thing, for every dollar of investor money raised by females, they're generating 78 cents in revenue compared to 31 cents from the male counterparts.
You're making some good points. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I love
Not
that.
numbers. They're
So
from yeah.
if you're mentoring female founders who are trying to they're ready, they want to go into this industry, be an entrepreneur, what would you tell them?
Ooh, pull your pants up. Get your hands dirty. You just got to be confident. I think that's the thing I see a lot of the time. My male counterparts, my male friends, we got a lot of bravado, a lot of energy, and there's always something you got to prove. So everybody has their game face on all the time. And I really want to see my female founders really just pull their boots up and say, hey, I'm here to be louder than anybody else because I'm here to get noticed. Let's just dive right into the conversation. Let's talk about money. That's something Catherine O'Day always mentions that I absolutely love. Let's talk about money. Let's talk numbers. And let's just, be as confident as we possibly can be. And just don't be afraid to be that only female in the room. It is a point of pride. I think it's something that you should reframe to say, wow, how cool is it? How awesome is it that I get to be here and I get to bring other women with me here? So
I love that.
Be proud. That's the advice.
I love that. That is so good. All right, here's my question for you now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Have you ever felt like quitting? And what keeps you going?
That is the easiest question you've ever asked me. No, that has never even once come to my mind. I don't even know the second half of your question just now. The answer is just no, point blank. Things are stupid hard a lot of the time. They've been insanely hard. I've looked at $7 in our bank account and I've had to rebuild that, and I've never let it hit zero. I had a long period where I never had more than 2 months of runway, and we just had to roll with it and we had to do it no matter what. But no, I'd never, ever, ever say no. There's always a way. And if you really spend the time and think through it, you got to always be ready to say, okay, this didn't work. This is the new plan. And some people might be in the dumps like every founder eventually is at least one time. But you got to reframe that mentality and say, okay, this isn't, oh, woe is me, so bad. No, this is just another problem we can solve. Every single thing can be solved.
Where did that come from? What did your parents instill some of this, or what? Tell me. Let's give credit to mom and dad if there's any.
I have so much credit to give to my parents and my family. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs. I mean, I watched both my parents work like 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, my entire life. And my grandfather, he worked every day until he passed at 98. All entrepreneurs, all had that same sense of we're going to win this. And there's no such thing as losing in our family.
Which parent, either one or both, do you lean into for the what kind of questions do you ask them? Or do you ask them questions, or are they just sitting there butting in?
It's definitely a balance of those two. There's a lot of butting in. There's a lot of me asking questions. Mainly it's me. And this is funny. I think it's funny because, they're not in the day-to-day with my business. They can't say, okay, this is strategic. This isn't strategic. It's more like me saying, hey, am I an asshole for thinking this? Just pure candor. Am I an asshole? And it's either a yes or a no. And that's what we usually go back and forth on. My dad likes to be involved in more of the strategy components, but, we don't get a ton of time to really sit down and dig into it. So it's few and far between, but I know he'd like to be. So it's something that I eventually want to have a full discussion with him on. But no, it's mostly just, they're very motivational. Something that I told this to somebody the other day, and they took it in a negative way, but I don't think it's negative at all. If anything good happens, I'll say it on my family group chat, like, oh, we just closed this massive deal. My dad never says congratulations. He just says, keep going, and that's, I think, the crux of my business relationship with my parents.
That's interesting. Super interesting. But obviously you learned work ethic from them. You learned you can do it. You learned. So hats off to mom and dad. Yeah, I know that they're proud of you. And Starr, I'm proud of you. And I love that you're part of our ATDC family, and so grateful for you to take the time with me today. So thanks for being my guest. And we are pulling for you all the way. I have the FrontHouz jersey on, and anybody listening to this, it has got to be like, wow, this is an amazing person. So
Thank you.
yeah, congratulations and keep going. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.